Welcome back and good afternoon, ladies, gents and Pikachus. Sorry for the delay. I've been very hard at work with my Quran of the Muslims videos and reading, and that's taken me a long time, so I haven't been able to do anything today. But I wanted to add some context to my earlier video, throwing shade on the Quranic manuscripts and the history of them. So if you want to just get this in actual news format, BBC have done a previous article on this years ago, and then the person who did it was moved on, so she wasn't allowed to do any more work. But if you search for that BBC article, there's links in there to the Paris Institute who did the Quranic manuscripts dating. They didn't use carbon dating because, as I said before, carbon dating is not accurate on things that are that new. They're not old enough. So what they did is they compared it with other manuscripts which they have history from other parts of the world, and they did things like look at the calligraphy style, look at the words that were used in relation to other words in other manuscripts of that time. And from that analysis they could tell, because certain letters and words appeared in that manuscript that were only included in the language at a certain point, that those manuscripts cannot possibly be from before that point when those letters and phrases were introduced into the language. So that's how we know the oldest Quran manuscript that we have, the one that's held at the Birmingham University, isn't anywhere near as old as the people who found it claimed. And we think it's probably from about 850 to 900 years after the resurrection of Christ, 950 AD, so year 900. And the reason that's important is because in the Quran it says the Quran was dictated through Mohammed by the words of Allah. Allah inspired Mohammed to do that. And it actually says in the Quran, if you read it, it gives you clues as to the time this was. And they think that this is the year 532, which is when they speculate Muhammad's life ended. But I just want you to think, isn't it a little bit suspicious? Isn't it just really coincidental and suspicious that Mohammed, even though there's actually no evidence that this guy even was ever a real thing, like there's no evidence Mohammed was a real person and a real prophet, but if the manuscripts of the Quran can be proven to be from that year, then that is evidence that Mohammed was a real person, and that means there is some evidence. Not only that, the evidence is in the Quran. So then Muslim scholars can say, not only A, was Mohammed a real person who lived and also a prophet, because the evidence is in the Quran, they can say the Quran is the ultimate source of all knowledge, like Mohammed and Allah claim. So in summary, the thing that I'm throwing shade on, particularly in those videos and this video, is not actually the contents of the Quran. That's in my other videos, Without Lies, Islam Dies. The thing that I'm trying to make clear to you now is that the evidence provided in this book, the Quran of the Muslims, to prove that Mohammed was a real person and a prophet, that's what I'm throwing shade on. That is not from the year 532, it's from the year 900, which is a good 450 years after the speculated death of Mohammed. So ask yourselves, what was going on in the year 900 which may have influenced that process, which Muslim scholars of today, including the guys at Birmingham University, would wish to hide and distort to make you think this book is much older and is the result of a divine inspiration to Prophet Muhammad, and why that would then lend realism to the claim that Muhammad actually was a real guy. Maybe it's the start of the Crusades, in which the papacy and the European Christian governments of the world moved into the Islamic world with missionaries protected by crusaders in order to spread the Gospels and recover artifacts which had previously been stolen by the Islamic, it's not called Crusades, but the Islamic world did a similar thing before that, where they went into other countries trying to steal religious artifacts and burn copies of their manuscripts. Now there's lots and lots of evidence of these things happening, but like I say, in order for you to find those and justify those things as real, first you need to understand that this and the evidence of this is fictional, fabricated. And we're only going to know that if we look at the actual factual sources, and we are not tricked by this falsity that somebody carbon dated it back to 532, which just isn't the case. So I would advise you, just before I go at the end of this video, go and have a look for the woman in Paris, the Charlie Hebdo articles, which is what caused, if you remember, the Charlie Hebdo massacre, where 2 journalists were killed by Islamists, and France had a lockdown because of that some years ago. That was directly caused by the research that proved this to be false, and that the life of Mohammed, actually there was no evidence for it, because that was the only evidence. So go and have a look at that. Look out for Without Lies, Islam Dies tomorrow at 7:15 AM. We'll be continuing our foamy-mouthed ranting of Allah exploration, analysis and breakdown of this book, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So until then, have a good evening, God bless you all, and I'll see you lovely people in the next one. Bye now. And if you would like to find the original BBC article that explains all this in actual news format, then I'll leave the link in the description and in a comment that I will pin. So go and have a look at that and you'll know more about it. But in the meantime, God bless, have a good evening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now. Bye bye bye.